Hey everyone, I'm Tammy. I'm the Siberian Wind, and I'm here to announce the mystery quilt for 2025 through 2026. The name is Reflections. So that is the name we're going to go with. So anytime you see Reflections Mystery Quilt or Reflections Quilt Kit, that is this upcoming mystery. The first clue is going to drop October 15th. So I've given you a couple of clues about that before, but let's get into it. So you're going to need a little bit of fabric, and there are 4 stores that are issuing out kits this year. There's Prism Quilt Shop here in Casper, Wyoming. There's Jules 307, also here in Casper, Wyoming. There's Sew You Quilt Shop in Casey, Wyoming, and Prairie Storm Quilt Shop in Rawlins, Wyoming. So these 4 quilt shops are local to me by about a couple of hours at least. So you can order your kits from these shops. Now the stores have already seen the fabric that I used in the sample. They've already also seen the sample quilt. So they know what it's going to look like. So they've curated their fabric collections, their kits, to go perfectly with the sample quilt. Now, that's not to say you can't do your own fabric or your own kit up your own fabric from your own stash, but these shops have put in the time and effort to curate kits. So if you're interested in getting a kit from these shops, we're going to show you those here right now. Now, now that you've seen what the shops have put together, let me show you if you're going to put something together on your own and you're going to shop your stash, what you might want to do or avoid when you're choosing your fabrics. So I'm going to bring up my other camera and we are going to dive into it. I'm going to also turn on my light up here. So I'm going to look a little funny, but you guys will be able to see the fabrics better down here. So the first fabric I'm going to show you, this is a very directional fabric. So like this cow goes one direction, same as the pig, same as the chicken, the goose, the duck, the weather vane, the word farm, and some of these animals have words on them as well. So this is a very directional fabric. Please steer clear. Don't use directional fabrics in this quilt. This is not the quilt for them. Now, this would be great as a backing to your quilt if you chose to do a directional backing, but you don't want to use a directional pattern on the front. I've not allowed enough yardage for you to match fabrics, and you don't know which way everything's going to go until the final assembly in September. So this would not be a wise choice, okay? Beautiful fabric, beautiful colors, but directional, you kind of want to stay away from that. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to choose your fabric that's going to be labeled as background first. Now, background, you're going to need 1¼ yard. Now, I have not measured any of these fabrics that I'm showing you, so I don't think I have enough of any of these to do this quilt, but you're going to see kind of what I'm wanting you to see with this. So this fabric is gray, it's got yellow, it's got a teal here, it's got some white or cream, and it's got some green, some lime green in here. So this is a great fabric. It is not directional. This print doesn't necessarily have to go any specific direction. Same with this print here, this paisley. This is a fairly large scale print. So it is, I mean, it's bigger than my hand. It's fairly large scale, but you can use this. This will be fine for your background fabric. Now, when I call it background, I should have probably called it focus. I've been corrected a few times, but this is what we're going to call background for this year. And again, you can choose a large scale, but you definitely want some different colors in the print. Now, you're going to also need dark fabrics. And in the fabric requirements that you can print out, you will see that you can do 2 different darks. Okay, so you absolutely can do that. Dark A is 1¼ yard, dark B is 3/4 of a yard, but can you combine them? Absolutely. You do not have to have 2 separate darks. You can do everything with 1 dark. Okay, so the 2 separate darks allows you to combine fabrics. So let's say you have a really dark, you have a dark black that you want to use, and you have a really dark gray that you want to use, and they're equally dark. That's fine. Absolutely. Just make sure that you choose which one is going to be dark A, which is the 1¼ yard, and which one's going to be dark B, which is the 3/4 of a yard. Now I'm going with this colorway, I would have just chosen this fabric just because that's really the only fabric I have on my shelves that really would go well with it. Okay, so you will need a dark 2 yards if you're only choosing 1 fabric. Same for the medium. The medium, you also have the option to choose up to 2 different mediums. So each medium is 3/4 of a yard. So medium A is 3/4 of a yard and medium B is 3/4 of a yard. But if you want to combine them, absolutely you can. Just make sure you get 1½ yards, okay? So that is absolutely fine. For this one, because I was looking at my stash and looking at what I have available, I chose a lime green. Now, again, your darks and your mediums, it doesn't show up well on this camera, so I apologize. It's super busy. So, but it's this is a lime green and it goes really well with the lime print. Choose something that is going to go very well with it. And there is some red here in the clock dial or the compass in this quilt as well. So this would be, again, a background print. It is not directional, so it doesn't matter if it shows up in the quilt this way, that way. It doesn't matter, okay? So this one has better contrast for my dark, my medium, and my light. My light that I pulled out is very printed. I definitely don't have enough. This is maybe one fat quarter. But my light, I was pulling from the center of the compasses. And then my medium, I pulled, there we go. My medium, I pulled from the coins. And then my dark, I pulled from the browns here in the background of the print. So you can absolutely use solids for a lot of this. I would recommend still that your background or your focus fabric have a few colors, have a little bit of life to it, because you don't really want this quilt to be completely flat in color. So you do want your background to have some kind of variation in color, even if it's kind of monotone. I mean, from a distance, this was going to look really gray and cream, but going up close, you're going to be able to see the colors in it, and you do want that for your background. So all of your other colors can be flat or read flat or read as a solid. That is perfectly okay. So your light doesn't necessarily have to be white. It just needs to be lighter than the rest of everything that you have. So let's say everything that I have, this gray is my lightest color that I can put in there. That is absolutely fine. It works. And then this is another colorway that I pulled out, another fabric I pulled out, and I love this fabric. It is gorgeous. It is a little directional, but it's not a set directional. So for example, if I put it this way, I'm going to be able to read these words. However, these are upside down. So I can turn it the opposite way and read those words. And then cafe is written here. There's words all over this fabric, but it doesn't really matter which direction that goes. So even though your fabric has words on it, it doesn't mean that it is one directional. Make sure that it doesn't matter which way you look at it, the fabric is still going to be beautiful and it's not going to stick out like a sore thumb. So this one's a very definitive print. It's got a lot of floral back here, this beautiful red flower, orange butterfly, blue butterfly, pink flower. Just all these different fabrics or all these different colors. I mean, there's even lime green in here. So you can pull whichever color you want. So you could pull a dark blue, then do a medium red and do a light orange. That would absolutely work. You can pull all of the different colors, or you can go dark with a dark blue that matches, I'm going with this flower. It's not even on camera. Let's see, there we go. This butterfly is on camera. So this blue is here in that butterfly, and then I have a lighter blue batik. Now this is a big print batik, okay? So a big print batik will be okay for the dark, medium, and light, but it's not blue and yellow where I might get just yellow in some of the print, or I might just get blue in some of the cuts. You want it to be kind of cohesive, if that makes sense. So that's my dark and that's my medium. And then my light that I pulled is kind of pulling from that cream. This one's not an exact match. I might actually look for one that's a little bit better of a match. Or I might look for a different background because I might have enough of this to do my entire light fabric for my quilt, my 2.5 yards. So you have a lot of options with that. Now, with that being said, you don't necessarily have to go with what I'm showing you. Let's say you have a very light background print and you want to go, reverse your light, medium, and dark and make it a very dark theme quilt. You absolutely can do that. I'm going to refer to it as light, medium, and dark and background throughout the entirety of this quilt series. So if you make changes like that, just be sure to give yourself color swatches so that you know what those are going to look like. Now, because our first clue is coming out October 15th, that's a Wednesday. Well, in November, it's going to be a Saturday. We're going to go the 15th of every month, and it's going to be 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time every 15th of the month. So October is going to be Wednesday, November is going to be Saturday, December's Monday, then January is Thursday, February's 15th, or February's Sunday, March is Sunday, Wednesday in April, Friday in May, Monday in June, Wednesday in July, Saturday in August, and our final clue release is on a Tuesday. So Tuesday, September 15th will be the final clue release, and that is going to give you the full layout. So for those of you who have not participated in a mystery quilt before, the way this mystery quilt is going to work is every month you will be given a clue on what you need to cut and what you need to sew. So it's not going to be just a handout. You are going to get a video from me each month that is going to go over how you need to cut your fabric, what you need to sew, and some of it you're going to be cutting and setting aside for later, and that is okay. Nothing is going to be a completed like 12.5-inch block. It's not going to be that kind of mystery. And it's also not going to be using my favorite tiniest sizes of 1 inch. You're not going to be cutting anything that small. I believe the smallest cuts were 2-inch. So don't worry, you're not going to be cutting super tiny pieces. You're also not going to be cutting super large pieces. If you do have a stripology ruler, you will have a little bit easier time cutting just because your cutting will go a little bit faster, but it's not a requirement. You don't have to have any special tools. You don't have to have any special rulers to participate in this mystery quilt. Now that we've talked about what fabrics I recommend that you select for your quilts, there are going to be a few resources available to you after this premiere starts. One is going to be the colorway sheets. So you can download that as a PDF. And remember again that these are my pictures of these fabrics. So remember that they will be more vibrant and more beautiful in person than they are on camera or on your computer, phone, or tablet, or laptop screen. So they will be much more pretty in person. And I have seen all of these fabrics in person. They are absolutely stunning. So we've discussed the fabrics that you need if you're going to pick from your stash or purchase a kit, and that you will get everything that is included in those fabric kits. You will get all of the fabric that you need to complete the quilt. If you want the shop to put together backing for your quilt, please let them know that you are interested in a backing fabric that will coordinate well with your quilt top. They already have all the information about the quilt top as well as the size and everything else. And it's approximately 60 inches square. It's not going to be exactly that, and you'll have a little bit of leeway, but the shops will put together a backing for you. So let's discuss the other tools that you will need. You will need a marking pen or pencil of some kind. Now, when I did my sample quilt, I actually used a number 2 mechanical pencil. And that's fine because I wasn't worried about whether or not it needed to wash out of the quilt because, again, it's a sample quilt for me. It is not necessarily needing to be super fancy, but it didn't show anywhere. But I don't recommend using the friction pens just because even though you iron that ink away so that it's not visible, the solution that carries that ink is still in your fabric. So if you are worried about possibly marking somewhere where it might be showing up later, I don't recommend using the friction pens for this project. Now, again, it is entirely up to you. It is your quilt. One of the ones that I use is has disappearing ink that's air and water soluble on one end and water soluble ink be gone on the other end. And I almost exclusively use the disappearing ink. That is kind of my go-to if I'm going to use a marking pen or pencil, aside from something that you guys can see on camera. You can also use something like a Chaco liner. This one's a white one, and I'm not sure that this will show up on most of the fabrics, but you do need something that you'll be able to see no matter which fabric you choose. But this is chalk, so if you use something like chalk, just remember you have to brush it out of the fabric really well. Otherwise, you may have a little bit of chalk kind of stain a little bit, so just choose what's going to work for you. Now you will need a ruler. You don't need anything larger than a 12.5-inch square ruler. All of the block pieces that we'll be assembling, I could do with this ruler. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do it. Now there's going to be sections that are going to be a little bit larger. There's going to be sections that are obviously going to be smaller. So use what rulers are in your arsenal, but my personal that I'm going to be showing using, I have 3 different size Creative Grids rulers, and this is the largest size ruler that I have from them. Creative Grids does have the whole measurements on one side of the ruler, and then we've got the 1/2 inch measurements in black on the other side of the ruler. It makes it very easy for me to read. So this is going to be what I will be using. You do not have to use this. Use what ruler is going to be compatible for you. One tip that I do have is stick with the same brand. So let's say your large ruler is an Ulfa ruler, or Olipa or whatever. Make sure that all of the other ruler work that you do for this project is that same brand. So stick with the same brand. Brands can be slightly off from each other. So as long as you stick with the same brand throughout, you should be good. So like I have Nifty Notions as well as my Creative Grids. I won't be using the Nifty Notions for this quilt because I'm going to stick with the same brand for the entirety of my quilt. So whatever brand you're going to use of your ruler, just make sure that you're sticking with that same brand throughout the entire project. You will also need a good iron. You do not necessarily have to use steam, but I do recommend if you do want those seams to lay as flat as possible, an Acorn Easy Pressing Pen, a starch product, Best Press, something. You do want your pieces to lay flat, and because we are working on this over the course of a year, you will want some way to store your project. So a project bag. I know that one of our shops is offering a vinyl bag with a kit, so you would already have something to store all your project in with. But find one place that you're going to store everything. You will also need a rotary cutter of your choice. This is a Martelli. This is what I use. But it is entirely up to you. A lot of people have personal preferences for or against Martelli. So use the ruler and use the rotary cutter that is going to work best for you. Just again, make sure that your ruler brand stays consistent throughout the entire course of the quilt. So if you start with one brand, keep that ruler or keep that brand of ruler all the way through the end of the quilt. That is going to be key because you are going to want everything to fit perfectly together. And when you measure with different rulers, you're going to get different measurements. All right. So there is also, as you guys asked for, there is an email sign up. It is in the description box below this video. You can click that link and that will take you to a Google form where you can sign up, and you will get an email link within about 2 or 3 days before every video releases. You will also receive updates about the quilt retreat that's going to be hosted here in Casper, Wyoming. You will also get information about any kind of special announcements that are going on. We are looking at this being a first annual, so we're talking this will be going on again next year. So you would be the first to get that notification if you are signing up for this year's quilt. Now, all of the videos for this year's quilt are going to be available through October 15th of 2026. So you have until then to watch all of your videos, download your follow along guides because the next mystery quilt will be issuing out same timeline as this year, provided that everything is working out well. We're going to issue that out starting next year. And so we're going to retire this quilt project at the end of October or middle of October next year and start another project then as well. So if you sign up for that email, you will get the link to the videos. So you will have the video link well before you need it. And you'll have that additional reminder because, again, it's changing the day of the week every time, almost every time. It's changing the day of the week, but it's following the day of the month. That way, you'll get that notification a few days before you get, or before the clue comes out, so you are ready and prepped and you know what you need to do to make time to work on your quilt. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. My email address is thesiberianwind@gmail.com. It's also in the description box below this video. All of the resources that I've talked about today are in the description box. Please click that. Please click them. You want to go check them out. You want to go order your kits soon. All of the stores only have limited quantities of these quilt kits. They are brick and mortar shops, guys. So you want to be among the first to order your fabric kit if you are wanting one of the fabric kits available. Additional fabric colorways may become available as quantities go down of what we have available right now. So if you are waiting for your color or you're wanting a color but you're not sure and you don't pull the trigger, you may not have an opportunity to get it after that. But then again, there may be another colorway that comes out that you like more. You can absolutely do more than one colorway of this quilt. It will be a blast to put together. So thank you for coming to the premiere. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for hitting that like button. And if you are not already a subscriber to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. It is also free. There is no charge to hit that subscribe button and keep watching the content that comes out on my channel. It is all quilting and sewing and yeah, it's all quilting and sewing related mostly. So thank you for hanging out. I will see you all on Sunday night for After Sunset Sunday. See you then. Bye.